that was one of the things the other thing that he said to me, because I was like kind of saying, well, God, talking about the things that I was right about or whatever. And I've shared this with our Connect group in the past that, God told me in that moment, that was the first time he said to me, I don't care if you're right, I care if you're one. And so it was like, you so worried about pursuing rightness and you're not pursuing oneness. And so I was like, okay. So I humbled me.
But I can't be right, no right this
very,
time.
very quickly, And then the other part of that too, at that particular time, was I was like, okay, if I'm the leader and I'm supposed to lead, I can't be like, oh, well, she not doing this, she not doing that. I need to initiate. And when I got that, we looked for marriage counseling. And so I went and found somebody that we could. In fact, every time that we've gone to marriage counseling, it's been because I initiated it. I know a lot of people think, well, I'm not saying it like that. I'm saying that for the men.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Because a lot of people feel like, and the women are the ones dragging their husbands.
Yep.
But like, if you are the leader and the priest of your home, like, it's on you.
Yeah.
This is the B-side, B-side, B-side. The marriage. This is the B-side, B-side, B-side. The marriage.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Bside of Marriage podcast. I am your host, Rashonda, and this is my husband and co-host,
Jason.
And here at the B-side, we talk about everything related to marriage, the good, the bad, the real, the A, and the B-side. So if you're joining us for the first time, this is all new. If you are coming back, thank you for coming back. This is new to you too. This is great. So we're starting a series called B-side Conversations, where we're having real life conversations with just real couples. And today we have the Dawsons, Trinity and Carla.
And y'all did good, man. I like that intro.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
The top of the dome?
No, that's our usual thing.
That's how you use it.
I actually missed the part, but it's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. So we're just gonna have a conversation about just marriage stuff, kids, all the things. And just, you guys are basically just going to be listening in to a conversation that we're having with our friends. Yeah. So, hi, Carla and Trinity.
What's up?
Trinity.
I know Trinity. So I guess introduce yourselves to the peoples. Like, who are you guys? And then...
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, just who are you guys? And then we'll talk about your love story.
So I'm Trinity Dawson. This is my wife, Carla Dawson. We've been married for 12 years. It'd be 13.
Right?
Yeah. It'd be 13 on Valentine's Day of 23. So yeah, anything you want to add?
I did want to say that I'm Carla Dawson. I thought he was going to let me say that part, but yes, what he said.
And we got 2 kids and one on the way. 2 boys, TJ, Trinity Alexander Dawson II, who is 7. And Christian Michael Dawson, who is crying upstairs right now before his nap, who is 19 months. Is he 19 months now?
19 months.
So, and then we got baby number 3 coming in January. So
Nice. Yeah. You have anything?
No.
Okay.
So going to the love story, that kind of tells your love story.
Yeah, how did you meet?
I will interject and say that we have to tell both our sides.
Yes.
He likes to.
I understand.
I understand because that's how we do it too. So.
Most couples, right?
I tell the true version. And he tells
the
highlight word.
polished.
Yes. So who's gonna start first then?
You go ahead.
Me? Okay. So I was. So we met in Miami actually. Okay. We both lived in Atlanta at the time. I was gonna be transitioning, moving back to Ohio, but we had both lived in Atlanta. But we met in Miami. I was in Miami for a wedding. One of my closest friends was getting married on July 7th, 2007. So I was there for that. And Carla was there. You know, it's 4th of July weekend. She was there for a girls weekend. Okay. Exactly. And so,
you stick to your part.
And so I went to the wedding, and it turns out we were actually in the same place the night before.
Okay.
But by the grace of God, she didn't meet me that night. We were having maybe a little too much fun.
Exactly. That's the story I need to hear off camera.
But we met the next, I guess that was the Saturday. And so I went out after the wedding, and her and the girls are out, and I saw her walk in, and I was like, you know what I'm saying? I hit my one friend. I'm like, oh, he noticed. He was like, oh yeah. And so, anyways, I kind of kept my eye on what she was doing, just trying to find the right situation. And then she was out, you know, dancing with her girls. Okay. And then some guy came up and was trying to dance with her. I could tell she wasn't really comfortable with that, but just kind of being polite. And so I thought,
I love how you just look at me.
Now here's my opportunity. So then I went up to one of her friends and was like, you know, should I save her? And she looked at me, you know, checked me out. And she's like, yeah. And she's like, yeah, you can save her. And so
I love it.
So she gave me the green light. So then I went over and just kind of grabbed her hand away from that guy, and then danced for just a little bit. And I said, hey, look, I saw that, you know, you didn't seem to like what was going on, so I figured I'd save you. And then I introduced myself and left, or you know, just let her go back to her friends. I don't know if you want to jump in up to this point, and then or no.
You go ahead and finish.
Okay. So then later on that night, she was sitting down. I think I went over. I went over to you. Yeah, I went over to her and started talking to her again when she was sitting down, and asked her, you know, her name, where she was from, and when she said she was from Atlanta, I was like, really? So I grabbed out my wallet and showed her my license. I was like, I live in Atlanta. So then that kind of, you know,
I legit live in Atlanta.
Yeah, exactly. There's not no games. They got the receipts. And so, anyways, we just talked more, and I don't think we even exchanged information at that point. We then went back on about our business, and then towards the end of the night, I was kind of trying to decide whether to go over and, you know, exchange information or say anything. I think she was kind of low-key just wandering around waiting, you know, like waiting for me. So then I came over and we exchanged information, and and then we were like, well, let's keep talking. Yeah. And so I told my friends, like, hey, I wanna continue to talk with her or whatever. And he was like, well, we're going back to the other side of town, so if you are gonna be here, you're gonna be on this side.
Yes.
And so I felt like, you know what, I think I'll figure it out. I want to keep talking to her. So I was like, all right. And my backpack or my suitcase was actually in the trunk. Well, first he was like, hey man, that's not what we're here for, because we were accountability partners and stuff. That's not what we're trying to do. I said, no man, it's not like that. And he was like, all right, if you say it's not like that, I'll trust you, I'll believe you. So I took my suitcase out, and then I came, and Carla saw the suitcase, and she was kind of like, it's not like that. She's like, whoa, wait a minute. I'm like, no, I just got to be on this side of town. I will figure it out, but I want to continue to talk. So then from there, we stowed my suitcase somewhere, and then we walked down to the beach and just talked. Pretty much until the sun came up. It was kind of like a movie as far as that's concerned. and then we coordinated to where I'd be able to find a ride to the airport. I went to the airport hot mouthed and everything. Just no toothbrush.
He stole some of my friends' gum.
Yeah, I took a piece of gum that was I grabbed. And then I brushed my teeth at the airport and went on home. So that's kind of how we met.
Okay.
His version.
Okay.
Right. So.
True.
Yes. So here's
I was there for a girls' weekend, but I had broken up with my ex like a few months before.
Okay.
And so I wasn't on meeting anybody.
Right.
I was like, I just want to go have a good time with my friends. That's it. So I actually did not want to be at the club. We met, y'all. Just keeping it real, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I said I have to tell my version because he doesn't like to say that part. Because, people like to judge.
Not to say
you.
we met out because that's how I frame it up, but I
But,
say we were
hey,
dancing.
Here's the thing about God, though. He has a sense of humor,
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
He was okay with us meeting in the club because we weren't trying to meet anybody. We weren't trying to meet each other in the club. So anyway, I didn't want to be there, and I had an attitude for a little while while I was there, and I didn't see him at all. He was right about the guy. He tried to dance with all of me and my friends, and it was just gross. But so I just felt his hand, pull me out, and I was just like, thank you, whoever you are. And so we just started talking, and it was really, I guess, comfortable. It seemed like it felt like we had been friends for a while, And he did pull out his license and show me that he was living in Atlanta, or he was just about to move to Ohio, yeah. And so it was really cool. Then we would go back to our friends, and I didn't know that he apparently had been watching me all night. My friends told me later on, she was like, "Oh, I just thought that you didn't like him." I was like, I did not see him at all. And so, yeah, it was really cool. We would come back and talk, and then we'd go back to our friends, and the club was ending. And I am not like one of those forward women, to approach somebody, but I was like, oh, should I just leave?
Yeah.
And so I was like thinking about approaching him.
So you was patrolling, like you was saying.
No, I wasn't at all. Look, at all. I was like, look, is this one of the times where do I go asking for his number? I don't know how that,
Yeah.
I was like, but I was willing to just leave, you know what I mean? Because I don't know. So he ended up coming over, and like he said, he wanted to, we wanted to talk more. And he said, well, if my friend told me that if I come and hang out with you, then I'm on my own. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I didn't know what that meant. I was just like, okay, cool. And so fast forward to him showing up at my hotel with his bags. I was like, I don't know what I did or said to give you that impression, but no, sir. And so...
I love that. I'm like, yeah, it's cool. But then you show up with the suitcase. Wait, it's not that cool.
I'm looking around at my friends like, what did I say? What did I do? And so it just so happened that one of the girls, she had already set up her shuttle to leave around the same time. Like he would need to leave. So we set it up and coordinated that they would be able to ride together. And so we went across the street pretty much and went to the beach, and he sang me a gospel song. That's a gospel.
What song was it?
I don't even remember.
Was it
a gospel song, by the way.
Was it him? Was it him?
I was like, okay, this is different, but it was really cool because we I joked around with him. I was like, I don't know where you can sleep. I mean, we were 4 girls to a room, so the 2,
Yes.
and I was like, and this is kind of weird bringing a guy back to a room, but he laid on the floor for a few minutes and then stole the gum, like I said, on the way out. And neither one of us was in a position where we wanted to, start anything.
A relationship.
I don't know if you want to tell that part about what was going on.
Oh, yeah. So I had got out of an engagement. I was engaged when I was, you didn't know this, huh? So yeah, I was engaged when I was in the last year of college. And then through I played football and all that. And so through the draft and how that happened and all the stuff with the agents and switching, firing one and hiring another, and just life was a little bit crazy.
Right.
And that engagement, ended. And so that was maybe May of 2006 where that ended, and I had not seen her that entire time until July 7th, 2007. And so that was
so she was.
So that was.
Okay, all right.
And so so
that is a critical part.
I left that out by mistake, I guess. But so it had been around a year of processing all of that.
Yeah.
And in July, and that day is when I realized no, this is done. and that door was like closed for me completely. So it was interesting that the moment I got complete closure as far as that deal was the moment I met
That's
same
why I was
day
like,
I met her.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, same.
And I did, like,
That
I
is like
said I
movie
had
stuff.
an ex-boyfriend, and I remember it was like March or something. So we met in July. It was March when I said, you know what, God, I'm tired of, choosing guys for me. I want who you have for me. But I don't want to wait years, God. Like, because I don't want to, And we met.
Wow.
And I just found it very interesting. It was 7707, you know what I mean? And so I was like, oh, God, you're funny.
So I have a question because you said something that was really interesting. Because you said that there was a guy trying to dance with all your girls and even you. What was it about when he grabbed your hand that you felt comfortable to go with him? Because a lot of people, again, I'm not saying all women, but to feel just a random hand and it's not a female for them to grab your hand, you was like, okay, I'm gonna go with him. Like what?
I don't know. Because like I said, it was weird because I never saw him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't like...
But you was something
I
was
know.
comfortable.
It was just
about
comfortable.
It.
That's why I said that's the only way I could describe like us talking and stuff. It was just like this level of comfort that it's just was there. I never thought about that before, Jason.
Well,
I'm just saying. You said
it's the anointing. You know what I mean?
Here we go.
Look. Lord help us.
All right, so y'all meet in Miami. Y'all go back to Atlanta. Do y'all both go back to Atlanta? I mean, separately, but y'all both go back to Atlanta, or were you already going to?
So I was kind of in transition. So I was back and forth from Atlanta to Ohio. So I think I might have been flying to Ohio from there.
Okay.
And then I had come back to Atlanta maybe a week or so like after we met, but we didn't connect then. It wasn't until, so that was July 7th, it wasn't until her birthday, which is July 30th, that I ended up I think we had some exchanges back and forth, but on her birthday, I was checking out, MySpace or whatever, you know what I'm saying, back in the day. And I saw, oh snap, it's her birthday. Right? It's her birthday today. And so then I reached out. And then the next time I was coming to Atlanta, I think it was August, is when we got together and had our first like real date. Okay. You thinking through, trying to remember?
Yeah, because I met up with you and your friend somewhere, like a taco place or something. Was that in August?
Because that was August, I think.
Okay. Because then we went on our date.
Yeah.
Okay, so when y'all went on your first date, then y'all like started dating, or
can I tell this?
Yeah.
I was like, are we committed
we were
to each
both
other
in the
yet?
same
'Cause I know
places.
you guys are coming from some complicated relationships, so
yeah, we were both in the same place in terms of like surrendering to God and not wanting to do anything outside of His will. So I'll preface what she's about to say with that.
Oh, so it's gonna be good. Yes, Carla, you tell
I don't know if it's gonna be good. I don't want y'all, manage expectations. I'm just like, let me bring you back. No, but we talked, and it was just still like just getting to know each other, vibes. But we went on our first date, and it was cool, But he's very calculated and like planned out and analytical and all this stuff, and I'm just like,
especially back then.
Yeah,
I was very...
back then.
Even more so than today. Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it was funny because I think after a few months, it's like you can tell, like, okay, this is something. Yeah. This could be something, but he was like, well, I don't know, I gotta, it's just all this back and forth of like, let me just think about it and stuff. So I was like, okay, so you don't want to date anybody else. I don't want to date anybody else. So, okay. He was like, but I just want to make sure. And I was like, okay. Because it was long distance.
Yeah,
I would say that. That was a big part of it. And I guess you had been long distance prior. And so I get it, but it just became funny to me because I'm like, this man, he's just, okay, we already know what it is, but I'm going to let you do this if you need to do this. This is your process. Like, I'm going to let you do it. And I don't know if you want me to fast forward to.
No, I think that is an important part, though. She definitely let me she understood kind of where I was and let me kind of go through my process. It wasn't a press, really anyway. But also although it wasn't a press, it wasn't like she was diminishing herself or her value. She understood like her value, and she understood it wasn't a matter of me just not wanting to commit or having commitment issues. It was me just wanting to be sure, so that when I committed, that I could commit fully. And I think she understood that and gave me my space to process through that fully.
No,
I don't think it took too long though. It wasn't all that.
So
just
we went on our first real date.
Maybe.
Just a year.
Maybe it was a year.
Huh? not after we. You mean like overall, like the whole total, not when us.
Total, yeah.
Okay, because we went on our first real date in August, and we ended up making it official December 1st.
Yeah, December 1st of 2007. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
oh, that's why I was like, wait, y'all waited a whole year before y'all just started committed to dating?
Oh, yeah, no, it was
I would have like, see you later, brother.
5, 6
I don't know,
months.
if you don't know about this time.
Yeah, and from that point, it was about 6 months.
That's close to our dating week.
I know.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it 07?
It was 07.
Oh, yeah. Scott was moving.
He's doing exactly.
He's the one with the dates.
He know all the dates.
Because I moved to. Let me see.
No, we started dating in 06.
It was
okay.
Yeah, it was but it was.
Look, I'm gonna interview y'all.
Because I'm just, when you said December, I'm like, December?
No, December is a very heavy month for us.
Yeah.
Because when we started dating in December.
We got married.
And then we got married. Our anniversary is in December, so.
Yeah,
okay. So, all right. So, when, I guess, I'm going to ask this question to Trinity. When did you know that this was your wife?
Man, I think it was when I was checking out her MySpace. No. But then one of the things that we did have in common, why is it Last Dragon? We both had that as like one of our favorite movies. I was like, oh man, she gotta be cool,
Yeah.
But no, honestly, it was through that very intentional process. Like even before I would want to set up phone dates or whatever, and then I would kind of wanted to like pray about like, do I really need to continue? Like I don't want to waste her time, and I want to make sure that I'm staying on the track that, God has for me, because he was shifting a lot of things in my life. Because I look at who I was like when I graduated college to like even just that 2-year process. Oh man, I mean, it was 2006 was definitely the most challenging time in my entire life. Okay. And so God had been working some things in and out of me at that point, probably in preparation for meeting her in July. But and so as I was kind of praying through the entire process, I'd probably say the time that I said, hey, let's go, like December. By the time I was ready to make it official with her, and as far as dating, it was because I knew this is something, and so we need to go ahead and begin the process of really pouring into like our relationship and starting to build something. So I wouldn't, if I didn't see her as my wife or potential wife, I would have never committed that way.
I forgot about the phone interviews. And
it wasn't interviews. It was phone dates.
And the panel interview. I forgot about that, y'all.
Wait,
phone
panel?
interview.
Who's on the panel?
I'm just
Who's on the
That's
panel?
what it felt like. It's like, okay, so we're going to have the initial conversation. We really did have an initial conversation after we got back from Miami. And he was like, okay. We talked for a couple of hours, and he was like, oh, I think we could do this. I think we can talk. To see if we could talk. To see if eventually we could be kind of, you know what I'm saying.
I
love
it.
I forgot all about that initial conversation that led to other conversations. It was so funny. I don't know if I should say this, but I'm gonna say it.
We can edit it out if it's,
No, it's good. But I have this guy friend, and it was strictly platonic from college, and he lived in Atlanta too, and we went to the movies, and so I talked to him after leaving the movies, and he was like, "Who'd you go to the movies with?" And I was like, "My friend, blah blah blah." I'm like,
thinking nothing of it,
and he was like, I could tell that he was feeling some type of way, and I was like, I done told this man. Look, I done told this man. Look, that he's feeling me, and he wants to be with me, but I'm gonna let him continue his process. But you know what I'm saying? I was just like, come on, man. But
that is good though, because usually, especially women, we kind of are more in tune to like emotions, and so we tend to want to rush things and put out ultimatums like, hey, listen, either you gonna come with the real or not, because we had a similar, it was a soft ultimatum.
No, it was soft.
It was soft. Because it was like when Jay was moving to from New York to Houston, I was like, I don't want you to think like you don't have to propose to me, but also you're not gonna live with me, and you know you're not getting the milk for free. Yeah, so it's a soft ultimatum. Jay's moving from New York to Houston. I was just like, you don't have to propose, because I mean, we were a thing, but I didn't want to put that pressure on him, because like I never want him. I don't want him to move before he's ready to move. Like I don't want to promote you and you're not ready. So, but I was like, but you're also not going to just come and live with me and get the milk. We're not doing that.
Shacking up.
Yes, I was like, right, very churchy people, right? Yeah. So I was like, no, you're not going to be shacking. I'm not trying to explain that to my family. No, I'm not doing that. But not knowing that he had already had a ring and he already had a plan or whatever. Yeah. So so that's why I said it was soft. I didn't say we were going to break up. I just said you can't live with him. And so
I get that.
So but women do. We put ultimatums because we want to kind of rush things along. But it's cool that you were just like, no, I see he has a process.
And it was
I'm going to allow him.
Well, yeah. Because I don't know. Just thinking, I never thought about it like
I don't know. You said a lot?
I said it was God.
Oh, yeah.
That's why she was confused. Like, what do you mean?
I was like,
it was God.
Yeah. For sure.
I'm gonna try to zoom in on that one. His face, he was like,
it wasn't God. Nothing about this was God.
That's funny.
But yeah, it had to be. Y'all making me think about these things in different light, because I didn't realize that I was allowing him to process through all that, and just had this level of he'll come around, you know what I mean? And I just, very interesting. But no, I think December 1st, I don't know if you want to tell that part.
December 1st?
2007.
Oh.
That's when you made it official.
Yeah, you can tell it.
Well, he came into town from Ohio, and remember that song, was it Dwelle? Or, I know it's early, I know it's soon. Truth be told, I think I love you. You remember that song?
that's Dwelle.
Yeah.
Oh, see,
and so that was,
I don't know lyrics.
No, I'm waiting for the song to get that
So you and Trinity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So yes. That song was playing the video or something, and that was a jam. And he, I'm just listening to the song, and he was trying to tell me that he loved me, and that's how he told me this while the song was playing. And I was like, I know. No. But yeah, so that
for you to
so
know.
we became official that day. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then it was kind of like that when, fast forward a year, of us kind of getting to know each other and actually building something in a direction to where I was being moved to Houston. And because that was going to be, I had been moving all over the place with my job prior to that. And that was going to be my permanent residence, and I wanted her to move too. Okay. Prior to moving to Houston, though, I too had already had my ring. But I wanted to, for some reason, I just was curious as to like how, it wasn't a test. I just didn't want to tell her, but I did want her to move to Houston. Yeah. And I wanted to wait to be able to propose, but I wanted the process to start moving forward for her to get here. And she was kind of on the same boat, like, hey, look, I'm not. I'm not kind of. Yeah, she's like, I'm not moving, like, you know what I mean? And you can tell kind of what your process was there. But she eventually ended up saying, I guess, either recognizing where things were going and committing to moving and beginning that process. Because I proposed that next December of, was
December 20th.
Was that 08? Okay, yeah, that next December, that's right. And then she moved in February. She moved in February.
2009.
2 months later or whatever.
And when did you move to Houston?
I moved to Houston in August of 08.
Okay.
Yeah. So
it's my turn. No, so I'm trying to remember when you left off. So yeah, we were dating long distance, and he was like, "I want to close in the gap." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm from Atlanta. I'm living in Atlanta. You know what I mean? That's all I know." And I'm like, "I'm not about to move." Well, no, let me add this in. He was either gonna have to move to Tulsa or Houston, and I was like, I don't know anything about Tulsa. When I he was the first person that I met from Tulsa, and I was like, what? What's Tulsa?
What's
okay,
in Tulsa?
You're right. So I was like, I'm sorry, sir, but if you're moving to Tulsa, I can't do that with you. But no, and so I was praying that it would be Houston. But I told him, I said, I'm not gonna move across states to be your girlfriend. So we are gonna, we're working towards something. And I guess again, it was God. Like I trusted because my family was like, okay, well, what, Yeah. I didn't really dwell on what if it didn't work out. There wasn't necessarily a thought, but I trusted that. Come on, this man and made me go through all these interviews and I thought it through, right?
right. There's something coming.
So I'm like, okay. Can I tell about the time when I thought you were gonna propose?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yes, I want to hear this.
So, were we long distance? Yeah, you had stayed here for 3 months, and I came into town and I wanted to do a picnic, and we did a horse and carriage ride at the by the aquarium.
Yes.
I think we ate at the aquarium, and
That's when we thought downtown was like nice.
Oh yeah,
He took
everybody to the aquarium every time.
Houston, you do go downtown. Aquarium is like a thing.
Because you think it's supposed to be. That's what it's supposed to be. It's not.
It's not. But, it's not. But
not yet. Maybe they'll get there. Anyway, sorry.
Or maybe back in the day it was.
Yes, maybe. But that's it.
We took a little horse and carriage ride, and I'm like, this must be it. So I'm like nervous, and I'm just looking around, like, oh my gosh. The whole time my heart's just fluttering.
Yes.
And then the ride ended and nothing happened. I was like, I would never get myself worked up like that again. Because I was like, this is a mess. Carla. And he didn't know. I'm just like, every time looking around, like, oh, it's about to happen. And then
so you had no idea that she thought that was going to be the
No.
He didn't know. He didn't say anything.
You didn't plan it that way. Like, I'm going to suck her out so then she won't see it coming. When it's a real thing. Hey, caught you slipping.
He didn't know. I didn't tell him because I was like, I don't want to look stupid. You know what I mean? So I didn't. I think I told him like some time
after
later.
we were engaged.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
You want to tell the engagement story?
Yes.
I mean, do we get? This is a lot of the A side right here.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So I
Yeah.
don't
Let's
know.
skip. Okay.
Just
It's fine. That's fine. Go
Okay.
ahead and do that. We'll get to that side.
I mean, because
Yeah, no, it's
it's
good.
not much more of the.
Well, no,
background.
now I want to
She's
know.
like, it ain't much more A,
I want to
everything
know
else
the
is B.
engagement story because since
Ain't
she
got no
was
more
like,
I was waiting for him. As soon as I was about to say it, I knew he was about to jump in. You never disappoint. Go ahead.
Sorry, Charlie.
no, I just want to hear the engagement story since she got psyched out. So I want to see that the actual engagement, that the proposal, like, did it satisfy? That it was it up to par?
It was a story, that's for sure. I was disappointed because I had this thing. It was planned for us to go to this winery in Atlanta called Chateau Lawn.
Okay.
You can take a helicopter ride to Chateau Lawn, have dinner.
Hey, let me put that on the list.
Yeah, have dinner and then fly back to the airport or wherever the helicopters are. And so my plan was to fly to Chateau Lawn, have dinner, and then I had the helicopter because her sister lived around there at that time.
Okay.
And have the helicopter fly because it's December, it's around Christmas time. Have the helicopter fly over her sister's house, and we put down in the backyard, marry me, Carla. And so that was the plan for us.
Christmas lights.
Yeah, Christmas lights. So the plan was fly, eat. Well, we get into the helicopter, and the helicopter has it's got malfunction. It's like it has a maintenance issue or something.
What's it called? Alternator, something.
Yeah,
alternator.
some problem.
Issue.
Yeah, and so they try to start it up, and I'm like, we get in there, we all buckled up, ready to go have our deal, and I got Christmas lights at her sister's house,
like this gotta go.
and so and I got a ring in my pocket, and so the guy is like, oh, so I think did they go try another helicopter or they tried something else? They tried.
I think they tried something else.
Yeah.
But then
I think the weather was bad
it
at
was
one
windy.
point too. Yeah, the weather was bad, and so I was praying that the weather because it would clear up, and then weather clears up. It's like, oh, thank God. So then we get to the deal. It's an issue with the helicopter. So then they try something else, and then it's an issue there. But after the first issue, Carla was like, "Oh no, I'm cool."
I'll tell you my life.
Yeah.
I love my
She was
life.
like, "I'm cool."
Right. It's like God must be trying to tell me something, right?
Exactly. So then I was like, and I still wanted to, but then I was kind of like, "You're right, we need to." But I was so disappointed, and she probably figured it out at that point, like why I was so mad.
hadn't.
Oh, okay. But I was so upset, and the guys felt bad because they knew they messed up my engagement.
Yeah.
It wasn't their fault. Y'all messed up my
Well, their
engagement.
equipment wasn't working.
They should check that before.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true. You got a point.
A couple of backups.
Yeah.
I think they did have it was something with the backup too.
Yeah, I
That's
feel
what-
like we got
That's why I
into the
was
backup.
like, you know what?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
got the
That
backup
backup
there.
there. Yeah.
Good,
I'm
good,
good.
good.
Yeah. I understand that.
So we ended up driving, I think blindfolded or something, driving her to her sister's house, taking her up to the upstairs, bathroom, and then, taking the blindfold off and then having the ring, asking her to marry me. But she...
I want to tell my
Okay. Well, go ahead. You can tell her that.
So we were celebrating. I didn't expect anything.
Yeah.
Because we were celebrating our anniversary. Mm-hmm. Because our anniversary was December 1st, but he come to town December 20th. Blah, blah, blah. So I was like, oh, this is cool. We're gonna take a helicopter ride.
Yeah.
And when it didn't work out, I was like, get my jacket off. You don't tell me twice. And I'm out here, and he's like, you don't understand. He's going back and forth with the pilot, and I'm like, we can come back another time, because it's obviously not the right time.
Exactly. Yeah.
So he's like, just very upset. And I'm like, it's okay, And so he's like, well, put your jacket on your, we're going to tie your jacket over your face. And so I was like, okay. So we felt like we were driving forever. We get to my sister's house, and he had everything, had everybody quiet, because my sister has 3 kids, dogs, and cat, all kinds of stuff, right? And so I'm like, okay.
It's a party over
But then for some reason, I figured it out as we were walking, and he lets go of my hand, because I'm like, oh, my sister's house. And he just lets go of my hand, like, oh my gosh. But then we get inside, I'm like, maybe it's not my sister's house, because it just felt different, right? So we go upstairs to her primary bathroom, because it overlooks the backyard. And it's Christmas time, Christmas lights, Mary, me, Carla. I'm just thinking, Merry Christmas. So I looked at the lights, and I was like, yeah, okay, thank you. I look back at him like,
Merry Christmas to you,
why
too.
are you saying Merry Christmas to me,
Oh, goodness.
And so I'm like,
Merry Christmas to you, too.
so we're having this, silent conversation, this nonverbal conversation. He looking at me like, and I'm like, Merry Christmas. And so I look again, and I'm like, and then I turned around, and he had the ring and everything, and my whole family just looking at me like. That's why I like to tell that, because it's so fun, I love that story. I know I get the disappointment, and he had because it would have been really cool.
Yes.
But I was like, hey, God, I trust that you were, watching over us. So one day we can all go and fly to Chateau.
I'm down.
Yeah. And so when the weather's nice and
yes.
visibility is great.
That is hilarious. I'm so glad you guys shared that story. Especially because it goes to communication with couples, because it's like, you had an intention, and then you're thinking the message is one thing, and then y'all have this nonverbal exchange. And so I guess, what were you thinking, Trinity, in that moment? You were like, oh, so is it gonna be a no? Did I misread all this?
I thought she wasn't catching it. I felt like she
felt
wasn't
like she wasn't catching it. Okay.
And so I was looking like,
I was like, this is so sweet of me.
Can you read it again?
because I low key knew the answer was yes. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. But no, I just, I figured she wasn't catching it. But then after that, though, we had a great dinner because we went to Chateau Land. We just drove there after that. And it was great. It was great.
Because I love that about God. Like I just love the whole situation. I love our story, although it would have been really, really nice.
Yeah.
To fly and see that, But
This is a better story.
yeah,
though,
it
actually.
is.
I do think it is.
I think a lot of the stories go like that, you know.
Because it's a reminder that even though it may not go as planned as you want, there's a path that God has you on. So, and then
because it's just like, yes, you always have an intent, like you have this plan.
Yeah.
We always make our plans, but then God has his plan. But at the end of the day, what he has for you is better than what you have planned. So now you get, like you say, your story has a different, is more memorable because of the uniqueness of it.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's very good.
And then
You guys were safe.
I recall that he had used my car to go and put down the lights, and he had. I don't know if you guys lived in Georgia or know anything about Georgia, but they had this red dirt and red mud, and he had it all on his shoes and in my car. And I was like, why is there red in my car? And he's like, oh yeah, I went to the mall, and and I was like, okay. Why did I have red dirt? Why were you walking in the red dirt? But whatever, I still didn't think anything. But then I was like, oh, okay, you in that backyard putting those lights down. Okay, I get it. It's just little stuff like putting it together.
You're like, oh, okay.
So stuff like that. I just love stuff like that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
all right, so we've talked about, you guys, your courtship, your engagement. So now that you guys are almost 13 years married, correct? Yeah. What trials, you don't have to go all, but one that's kind of, I guess, that sticks out of all of them that you guys have gone through, that I guess it was tough, but you guys are continuing still going through, not going through it, but you have made it through that trial now.
It's so interesting. It's kind of hard to pick one. I was literally just trying to think through it because, every last one of them has shaped and molded and brought us to the place that we are now. And even the place that we are now, I think, is shaping and molding us for where God has taken us.
Yeah.
And so, because I don't know which one to pick. I'll just say, because like I think about when we first got married, like we didn't necessarily go through the like super honeymoon phase. Like we said that we were gonna go into marriage with our eyes open. So in other words, we're not gonna be naive and our sleeves up, and we're gonna be willing to work. So that was kind of. And I guess we decided we just went straight to work, and I found out really, really fast.
Like we in this thing.
Yeah, exactly. We in this thing. And I found out really fast, like in marriage, like I started to recognize like a lot of things about myself.
Yeah.
And God began to kind of, like, I realized, like, in terms of, if I look at, like, where I am now, compared, in the type of man that I am, and the type of person I am now, compared to what I was in 2010, 2011, 2011, Trinity was, like, trash. Like, big trash.
Yeah.
And so I think about that.
I'm just saying, all of us. Yes, all of us.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like,
when we get married.
I think about that. I'm like, but that our marriage and being able to like see myself in that space is what kind of drove me to being like, okay, God, like, what is going on with me?
Yeah.
Like, and then God began to work some things out of me and in me. So I think through that phase. I also think, I talked about 2011. I'm doing a lot of talking, so I'll be quiet. We're in 2012 when we had our first miscarriage. We were ready to start having kids, and was so excited about it. I think about like when she showed me like that day, that about that we were pregnant or whatever, And so we went through that and had a miscarriage. Was it October 21st of 2012? 21st or 22nd?
22nd.
It was 22nd of 2012. And then we had another one in 2013, October 22nd. It was like almost
27.
to the same. Oh, okay, 27. It was almost to the same day. And then we have, TJ. We got pregnant in 14. Had TJ in 15. Another miscarriage in 17. Another miscarriage in 20. Pregnant with Christian in 20. Had Christian in 21. And so through that whole process, I mean, that was a lot, between, at that point, 6 pregnancies. We're on pregnancy number 7 now.
Praise God.
Praise God.
Praise
and God has been good. But all of those experiences really shaped and molded us. And it's crazy because in those toughest times, and in the times where the enemy is coming at me real hard, or that's when I see her more clearly. Okay. I am able.
That's good.
Yeah. So I'm able, because we deal with stuff, and sometimes she's even when we're in the middle of our arguments, and we're talking why are you with me?
You never answer. It's a legit question, right?
And it's and God. So I'll give you 2 examples. Okay. We are, and I hope I don't cry because it's so I'm gonna pull it together.
Go ahead, say it.
Your feelings.
So our second, miscarriage, and we were talking about that. I was at the Wortham Center for an event downtown, and she told me hey, this is happening or whatever, and then. So I just let them know, and then I left after that. I think I was done anyway, but I was I'm not sticking around to the end. So I got to the house, and I guess I don't know if we were talking about it or I heard her or what. I really can't remember that detail. But through the process, as she was going through the process, she was worshiping through the process. And I won't try to talk about it, but the song was that, I love you, Jesus, I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you that I love you more than anything, through that. And I was that's why I'm with her. You know what I mean? Another time was...
I turn away, blink away my tears.
Okay.
Another time...
I'm the only G up in here. Go ahead.
Okay. Another time was here recently when I left my job. Of course you guys know, but the viewers may not know that I recently left my company to start another company, and through me trying to leave that organization, I mean it was a very. At first, I thought it was going to be cool because I've been communicating with the leadership team for quite some time about my plans and how we would essentially collaborate and work together. But when it was time for me to leave, and I knew it was time, I went on ahead and put in my 2 weeks, and they offered me a promotion. So I was the vice president of gas utilities for. Really globally, most of our business was in North America, but and that was a very important job for that company. Well, they had offered me a senior VP role reporting to the CEO, which was a bigger role and a bigger check.
Yep.
A much bigger check. Much bigger check.
I'm all right.
And a lot of people, when you look at what we walked away from, a lot of people would have a hard time doing that. I felt in my spirit, that I'm not supposed to, but I also was I can't say no to this without talking to my wife. Yeah. And when I called her and told her what they had offered, she was like, "Ooh," and then she was like, well, I guess it just the question is what is the price of your freedom to go and do what God called you to do?
Wow.
I'm like, that's why I'm with her. And I know that, you know, we might have our challenges or our issues, particularly around like communication. That's been one of our, because we are so different. But at the end of the day, like the purpose for marriage and what God wants to do in us, like through marriage, that is exactly what it has produced in me. And so I don't even remember the question at this point.
What's some B-side stuff?
But that's some of the B-side. You said some of the B-side stuff, but that is one thing that we have always done is put God at the center of everything, and that's the only thing that has sustained us. And so I'll let you talk. I've been talking.
Yeah, like he said, like I couldn't pinpoint one thing. Like you know what it is. It's been a lot, but I think he handled that question really well.
The pet.
I love that. Because we touched.
Because I remember, I don't know who, was it 2009 or 10? Remember Stephanie? Stephanie, she said that we were going to be an example, or we're going to be able to minister to other couples. And that comes up in my mind, you know, here and there, because I'm like, I don't know about you guys, but you want to be under the leadership of someone who's been through some things, right? Like my favorite thing about a pastor is, a good pastor is that he or she can be transparent, you know what I mean? And if you're not trying to be transparent, then you know what I'm saying, I can't really rock with you like that. And so I was like, okay, God, I get it. Like because sometimes it feels like these trials that we have in our marriage are like more often than not, you know what I mean? It's like, what's the smooth stuff, you know what I mean? But it's like, I get it. In order to help someone, you know, that's the same way I feel about our miscarriages, you know? Because God, he gives you grace for those trials because, like, you're going through it for a purpose, you know what I mean? And it helps someone else. And so after the second miscarriage, I was like, okay. Like, he protected me from being bitter and stuff like that. And so, like, I've been able to encourage other women, you know, as they're going through. And it's almost like a blessing. Yeah, well, not almost. It's a blessing to be able to, you know, relate and help other people through this stuff. So anyway, he did mention the communication. That has been a big deal. But I think the thing that I have learned is I was putting too much on him as far as like filling those voids. And this is just a very recent revelation within the last couple of years that I needed to lean on God. And I felt like, God, you're not being fair, because after we got married, it seemed like all this stuff that I didn't even realize that I had suppressed, or I didn't even realize was there, was coming up to the surface. And it's like so difficult to process through and, you know, be a wife and then be a mother of multiple kids now. And I'm like, God, you're really making me go through all this right now. And it just seemed like it was just so much. But he won't allow you to go through, you know, just go through life not needing him. You know what I'm saying? And so it's something very recently that's come up. It's just the suffering. We're supposed to rejoice in the suffering, and that our suffering draws us closer to God and makes us more Christ-like. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's what it is. What is our attitude during the suffering? And I was like, I get it. So I'm supposed to ask, okay, God, not why me, but thank you for allowing me to go through this, and thank you for growing me. And so it's been wild, you know what I mean? Because I do ask him that sometimes, like, so why are you with me? Because, you know, we tend to focus, and that's what the enemy's whole job is. He's like, he just sow that little seed and sit back and eat his popcorn and watch us go at it, right? And I really would love to get to the point where we're like, okay, I already see what this is, you know what I mean? And just, I remember Dr. Davenport was saying, you know, like when you argue and you go through all these fights, and it's a good thing, you know what I mean? And when you're fighting and stuff, like if you're doing it right, you will come out of it knowing more about your spouse. And so it's been a very interesting growing experience, you know, but I am grateful because one thing I do love about him, and I've been able to get to this point, is because I trust the God in him. I know that he will not, going back to those interviews, right? He will not, he will not just make a move haphazardly, you know what I mean? And sometimes I may think that he overanalyzes things, but, and I'll go back to God and be like, so you wanted me to be with him, right? And so sometimes I get it, you know what I mean? Like I've seen where we have come, like we, you know, be on one end of the spectrum, you know what I'm saying? Both ends of the spectrum we've come, you know what I mean? So it's something in me that he needs and vice versa, you know? And it's just been great. And just like he said, we've always, our values as far as like God, that, I mean, that's the only way you're going to make it through, right? You know what I'm saying? And the way we want to raise our children has been the thing that's held us, or the things that has held us together. But also, I remember one time this was like right before our anniversary in 2018. We were like, done.
Yeah.
We had already had a trip planned, but we were like, I'm done. I'm like, okay, cool. Let me figure this out. Let me figure out how I'm getting this job. You know what I mean? Because we just can't do it no more. And he went to church, and I went to a friend's house. And when he was at church, he said, he heard God say, work on your marriage, right? And I heard it too at the same time. I'm like, God, like I said I was done. Like someone tell me. But then obedience to God is so important to me. So I was like, okay. All right. And so it was very interesting because when he came back home, or when I came back home, he was like, yeah, God told me to work on our marriage. And I just sat there like, God had already said the same thing to me. And I was just like, okay. And I knew in that moment that it's like, whatever it is you're going through, we have to rely on him. And so, yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, no, and that was one of the things the other thing that he said to me, because I was like, kind of saying, well, God, talking about the things that I was right about or whatever. And I've shared this with our Connect group in the past that, God told me in that moment, that was the first time he said to me, I don't care if you're right, I care if you're one. And so it was like, you so worried about pursuing rightness and you're not pursuing oneness. And so I was like, okay. So I humbled me.
But I can't be right, no right this
very,
time.
very quickly, And then the other part of that too, at that particular time, was I was like, okay, if I'm the leader and I'm supposed to lead, I can't be like, oh, well, she not doing this, she not doing that. I need to initiate. And when I got that, we looked for marriage counseling. And so I went and found somebody that we could, in fact, every time that we've gone to marriage counseling, it's been because I initiated it. I know a lot of people think, well, I'm not saying it like that. I'm saying that for the men. Because a lot of people feel like, and the women are the ones dragging their husbands. But like, if you are the leader and the priest of your home, like, it's on you. You are responsible. And if you haven't done everything that you can do as a man, then how can you be looking at her? And so that is kind of, another kind of practical thing that I think helped us even
that's good.
in that, just putting in the work. I know sometimes we've had various counselors, and some we have been really comfortable with, and some have been okay, and then some, kind of that. But at the end of the day, the work that you're putting in is what that matters a lot more than who you're sitting next to or who you're going to see. It matters your effort and what you're putting into it.
And I also think, well, I have been in counseling almost a year maybe, and just what God told me, just focus on me, because I was like, God, why we keep going through the same stuff? And He said, just focus on me. And I'm like, I don't even know what that means, but okay, but just. I told him, God, a few years ago that I just wanted to be, free from all the trauma and all the stuff, you know what I mean? And so you gotta be careful what you say.
Yes.
God. You know what I mean? Because it's like all this stuff started coming. I won't sing.
Sir,
I won't sing those
I
words.
can't sing
I won't sing.
I don't know
I'm not there yet.
Exactly.
I'm not there yet, Lord. But yeah, so I've been doing the work, and it's just been so like effective, and and awesome, and exhausting at the same time. But I know it's worth it, and I know that God has been there. I went through. At one point, it was like hard to find counselors, and I'm like, "What's going on, God? You told me, what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to do this work," and then it just, God set aside that time for me and him. Mm-hmm. He like revealed some stuff so he can uproot it, and I was just like, okay. And during that time, like I really, like I started to recognize that God is who he says he is. He's my father, because and that's a whole nother story for another time. But like just knowing that, God, he can be my father. You know what I mean? And like, because it didn't make any sense. Okay, you're not a physical being, so, how does that work? But he really is, and he loves me. He told me that person, you know what I'm saying? So I was just like, okay. So just going through the process and taking our eyes off of us and our issues and looking to him like, okay, God, I really don't know how I'm gonna get through this, but you said, and that's what I love about God. Part. You can say, you said, God, and then we can just talk to him like that. You know what I mean? So that's my. No,
you guys said a lot. Y'all said a lot of good stuff right there. Yeah. But on that last part, we're talking about God, and you said so. Our favorite like diagram example is of the triangle. So God's the top, and then you have your husband, and then you have the wife. And in order for you guys to get closer, you both have to be going up to God and meet him at the top. Yeah, and so that's where, because God is in the midst of it all. And whenever they getting on our nerves, we go to God. Especially like, God, you sent me him. Okay, so we are in a covenant. All right, get your boy, because your boy's acting up, right? But also marriage is a mirror. Your spouse is a mirror. You look at them and you trying to point out what they doing wrong, but it's like, actually, no, you see your imperfections and all the stuff you need to go over to God. It's
I had one of those real moments like where we were arguing about something, and he used to like walk away and like just end the conversation, And Holy Spirit's like, don't follow him. Because I would follow behind him like, how dare you walk away, blah, blah, blah. Holy Spirit was like, nope. And I was like, what? Okay. So I just sat there, and he came back and apologized. And God was like, you can tell, you come to me. Because it's like a father, right? Yes. He is our father. So you can go and tell, tell things to him, And so I was just like, oh, okay. Because so I realized like a lot of times where I feel like I was right, but I was doing it wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to tell him. Like, and me pressing the issue didn't do anything but further complicate the situation. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, God.
So, what made me laugh is like, it just made me think of like, when we was little and y'all playing with cousins and so I'm going to tell my dad.
That's exactly what that is. That's the image I had in my head. Like, okay, I can do that, God. Okay, you said don't get tired of me saying.
Exactly, right? I got some things.
Very tattletale.
Exactly. But even when you do try to go and tattletale, like, God's like, okay, I got that, but then I need you to do this. Just like you were saying, God was like, are you seeking, to be right or to be one? It's like, he's gonna take care of his part, but he also wants you to do your work.
100%.
And so
and that's what I've learned about the both of us. Like, it's much easier for God to tell us about ourselves. Like we can't hear it all the time from each other. So it's like, okay, God, you got it.
Because tones matter.
Oh, they do, child.
Yes,
Look, oh, they do, child.
Tone matters. This show does.
Look, on the next episode.
Exactly right.
We're going to focus on tone.
No, this has been good. I was like, we're going to have to wrap it up because we can keep talking like for hours and we got other things to do. And they have a whole life.
Their whole life. But we definitely appreciate having a conversation with you guys.
Thank you. We enjoyed it.
And being transparent and vulnerable. Like, y'all don't have to put your business out there.
I don't know.
But I already know your testimony is going to bless many because you guys have been a blessing to us.
Yes.
And just seeing you guys, how you guys walk through the challenges that you have walked through.
I'm laughing because you said
I know. I said rap. Yeah.
And I'm thinking about our first encounter, me and Trinity. When we went out to dinner. I'm not gonna go into that.
Oh yeah. We don't have to go into the details.
We don't have to tell.
Yeah.
Well, after we get off camera, I want to hear the off camera.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But yeah, like ever since you guys came to our lives, you've been a blessing.
Yes.
And that's why that's why I feel like we're. Don't you do that? we're truly family, and so that's why we want you guys 100%. To come and share your testimony, your story, because we know that you will be a blessing to others as well.
Oh, thank you guys.
Y'all.
All right.
So
let's go. All right. Until next week.
Until next week.